that's all the moves. I mean, there's a lot of players they got rid of here. The official roster numbers is 50. So they're at 50 players out of 53. So they have 3 open roster spots, which could mean a lot of things, right? They could be looking at other players that are getting cut. They have room for additions, whether that's free agents, whether that's players that were waived, released. It just kind of depends. I haven't checked out all of the NFL and saw who was cut. So I don't know like great options yet, but I do have the official roster here that we can look at that the Lions kind of put out, which is actually a great tweet. So I did not even know this, but they put it out. We can talk about that defensive line room because Nate Lynn right now, who they have in the defensive line room, and I'll just read it and then we can go through the roster afterwards. But the defensive line room, they have Marcus Davenport and Aiden on the edge, AQM on the edge, and then everyone else is kind of interior. Or a little bit edge versus, like they could play a little bit edge. Roy Lopez, Pat O'Connor, DJ Reader, Chris Smith, who they kept, Tyleek and Mackay. And Mackay and Aleem, Mackay's back. He's trending back. But Aleem's going to be out. And then who else on the defense?
Well, Josh Pascal, Levi out.
That's who it is, yeah. And then Levi's out for the year. But they don't have, in terms of edges, they only have Marcus, Aiden, AQM.
That's it. 3 edges.
And then I saw someone say, like, well, Pat O'Connor can play a little. Like, guys, like true edges, they only have 3 guys that play edge, essentially. Which people can interpret it how they want to interpret it. They could say, are they opening up another one of those edge spots for potentially a Za'Darius Smith, who there are people that have, according to them, inside sources that say that there's no way that's possible, or it could be maybe another player that's a free agent or a player that got released. But I would like to think that the Za'Darius Smith thing is still very much alive. And again, when I go back to saying Brad's very calculated, I don't think these moves would be made to where they have 3 pure edges in that room.
Yep.
Without thinking, okay, what are we doing here in free agency? Which it could be Za'Darius. It could be, people bring up Clowney, whoever it is. I do believe Brad will make a signing of one of those guys. He's going to bring in a defensive end. Yep. I just, that room is too thin not to right now. It just is. In all due respect, like I'm not going to go down the Davenport hole again, but we know what happens. We know what has happened in his career. They need more than just AQM. All right. And even if they bring back Ahmed, he's out for most of the year.
Yeah.
So that's tricky. So I actually believe I'm probably more confident than I was a week or 2 ago about the Za'Darius stuff because of who they cut. I'm more confident now, for sure.
That's exactly like my point with this stuff. And yesterday when all that kind of came out was when this starts happening, like the Nate Lynn one was the kind of the eye opener to me because like, all right, can we just use some common sense, Jeff? I'm sure you'll agree with this as well. Dan Campbell makes a comment the other day when asked about Hendon Hooker, and well, not specifically Hendon Hooker, but talking about keeping an extra quarterback instead of, keeping depth on the D line or the O line. And he goes, it's hard to look at what happened last season and not want to keep more depth on those positions, right? Like that, those are Dan Campbell comments.
Right.
They don't go out there and cut 1, Hendon Hooker, 2, Dan Skipper, and then more specifically, you go to the D-line room, which guys who had very good camps in Nate Lynn, Keith Cooper, Isaac Ukwu, Mitchell Agude. Like I could keep going down the list of guys who got cut who had good camps that everyone was saying, hey, this guy actually has a legit shot. And the reason isn't just because he's playing the best ball of his life. It's because this Lions roster, they want depth at the D-line after what happened last year. So there's no reason they're like, hey, we're going to go in with the guys we have now, and we're not going to get extra guys after the season you had last year on the defensive line crew with all of those injuries that they had. You would think they need some insurance. So the fact that, like, if we're just connecting the dots here, and this is what I hate, where some people just refuse. And you know what? Coach Walk said it there. I don't know if it'll be Za'Darius Smith. That's fine. My point is, and I put the tweet out there today, I used a picture of Za'Darius Smith, didn't specifically say they're going to bring Za'Darius Smith in that tweet, but it was more so, hey, connect all the dots of what they've been saying over the last week of who they cut and what they've said about why they would cut specific players. They obviously have a plan in place to add to this D-line room.
I've interrupted the video to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Comer & Cross, and their one-day installation for concrete floor coatings, garages, basements, patios. They do it all. And I'm sure you're tired of staring at your crack-stained garage floor. Well, I have the answer for you. Comer & Cross in their summer installation sale, they're offering 12 months same as cash or $500 in savings. Why put it off? You can contact the number, 248-834-3488. They transform patios, pool decks, basements, even driveways. They do it all. And the best part is they move the stuff out for you. They repair your cracks and pits before applying your stunning new floor, guaranteed. Comer & Cross concrete floors never chip, crack, or peel like epoxy or paint. Again, you could call the number, 248-834-3488, or you can book your free estimate at comercross.com. Let's get back to the video. Right.
They do. Like, Brad has a vision of what he wants to do. And like, I would love it for it to be Za'Darius Smith. Brad went on the radio a couple weeks ago and says they've been in contact with Za'Darius Smith. He hinted like he probably just doesn't want to do camp. I still think Jeff, I'll say this. Still think there's a 75% chance that Za'Darius Smith by the end of the week is a Detroit Lions player. And he signed with the Lions. And I don't think that's crazy to say. Like, when I tweet this stuff out, man, I mean, people are just commenting, being like, this is the dumbest thing. Connect the dots. Like, quit being a fanboys and quit looking at it in that aspect and be honest with yourself. Like, they obviously want more D-line depth and they want another piece in that room, or else they would have kept Nate Lynn and they would have kept Isaac Ukwu. Because some of those guys, and Keith Cooper, like, some of these guys might not make it back to them in the practice squad. If you don't feel like these guys are going to make it back to you in the practice squad, Jeff, why leave 3 roster spots just wide open? Brad Holmes isn't that bad of a GM, because the same people who are like sitting there being like, Brad's not bringing anyone else in, but then those same people will be like, Brad's the best GM in the world. You're contradicting yourself. I hope I used that word right, Jeff. I'm pretty sure I killed that word. Yep. Contradicting yourself. Like, it's mind-blowing to me that like you're playing both sides in that aspect, to where you're saying Brad's the best GM in the world, but you're like, like, he's not bringing anyone in. Why would he leave 3 roster spots open if he's not going out and bringing someone in those rooms? Why? He's obviously putting more work in, and he has an idea of who he wants to bring into this building. And it's obviously not Keith Cooper. It's obviously not Isaac Ukwu, and it's obviously not Nate Lynn. And those were the next 3 guys up in that room. So they have something going on. And Eric Taylor said, Big Z, Skipper, and one more. Why would they have just released Dan Skipper if he would have just made the roster anyways? Well, yeah, maybe it gets rid of some of the guarantees. Why not just be like, hey, you're our 51st guy? They did it the last 3 years for him. So it's just like, let's all like, let's be honest. Let's stop, like, use your brains a little bit. Let's stop being fanboys and let's be like, hey, Brad's working. Let the man work. There will be an edge rusher in this building within the end of the week. It's going to happen. They're not going to go into game week next week with AQM, Aiden Hutchinson, and Marcus Davenport. They're going to make sure that there is a guy that comes in and he's going to be able to compete next week for you. And it might be a guy from a different roster too, Jeff. They might make a trade. I don't know. He has a plan though.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, Toxic says, do you think Hosni will get picked up by someone else? I don't think so.
Injured.
Yeah, because he's injured. So if they do pick him up, he's on IR. He wouldn't be able to play for them anyway. You don't see that happen. Could it happen? Yeah. Highly unlikely, though, that it does happen. Kenyatta says, how much do you think Z will sign for? That is the $1 million question. They have the money. The thing I'm curious about with Za'Darius would be just the length. I don't know what he wants in terms of the length. Is he okay with taking a 1-year deal? You know, I think that's what ideally Brad would want to give him. I would like to think that Za'Darius would be cool with that, but maybe he's at the point of his career where he's like, hey man, I want 2 years. I don't want 1 year. And I hope that's not the case, but the number, I think it would probably be around 10 million, give or take.
Bro.
I don't know.
Dude, Doc was saying like 6 million. I would be, and when I said too, like, if you're not going to go after like the Trey Hendrickson, and we're having that conversation, right? Why not just give Za'Darius, like, if it's a 1-year deal, just give the guy some money. I know there's money that rolls over, all of that. Pay the man. Get him on your roster. You have nothing to lose. You're trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, what they pay Davenport? Like, what was it?
4 million? I think it's like a max. I think it's up to 4 million, maybe with incentives. So maybe even less. It might be 2
million more.
Yeah, I would be fine, dude. If they did 10, I know it's an overpay. I would be fine with it. It's money, right? Like, it's the NFL. You have so much. They have like 40 million in cap.
Let's see. I see Coach Wall. Could it be a trade?
That's what I was thinking. I think there's no way Brad just made the moves he did today without consciously like being like, hey, I have something in place. By the way, Jeff, someone put it in the comment section. I just looked it up. I went on their website and found their roster. James Houston made the 53-man in Dallas. Did
he really?
He made the 53-man. Good for him, but that's I did say like a month ago, I said, imagine James Houston goes into Dallas and does what he did his rookie year. That would be heartbreaking.
He might be DN1, to be honest. I don't know what happens with Mike.
Well, I think they have like the depth chart here. They have Micah Parsons first, Dante Fowler second, Donovan Izaraku third. Guess who's fourth?
Oh, okay, of course. Yeah, James.
I don't know if that's how they did it, but I'm just.
Yeah, and Judon is with the Dolphins. He's with the Dolphins, so he's off the table. No Matthew Judon. He made the roster, of course. They signed him, so he's off. He's no longer in consideration. Eric Taylor's third rounder for Kayvon Thibodeau. I don't think Brad, if they're going to make a trade, Brad, what I've noticed about Brad is he doesn't trade for players unless, like Za'Darius, they knew they can get out of it. Like it has to make sense. Like they don't just trade for guys. I noticed that.
Yeah.
Like Brad isn't really the most aggressive guy via trade. He doesn't really make a lot of those type of moves. So I don't see. That's why like the whole like Trey Hendrickson thing is funny to me because I don't see Brad making that type of that level of trade. You know, I just don't. I don't see that. I think Brad's way, and if you want to call them cheap or whatever you want to call them, it's whatever. But he'll do it through free agency. Like it'll probably be someone that got cut. He'll bring in. I don't think they trade for like AJ Espinenza. I would love it. Shift God. I like AJ Espinenza. I've brought up before. I know Lucas has. I don't like that. I don't think so. Like the biggest trade he made on ARF, he traded Stafford for Goff, but that was like a trade that had to be done. Stafford requested that. So he made the deal and it was a great trade.
And he actually made a comfortable deal because he was just in LA. That's another thing I think with Brad that he's actually spoke about that. They like to make deals that they're comfortable. Like if it's a player that they kind of have an idea of what their character and what they're about.
He knew Goff, yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
And they knew Jared Goff. And I don't know about Za'Darius when they made that move, but it felt like they were comfortable to make that move in that moment because he was the best edge rusher. So obviously there are one-offs, but at the same time, it's Brad does want to make sure and they've mentioned it before. They don't want to just be bringing random players in the locker room that could, affect the culture of what they're doing. And obviously we know the culture's built, but they're still very, very aware of that with different guys.
Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, FisherCTSports.com.